Aloha and welcome back to SUP FM. My name's Simon Hutchinson, and in the SUP FM podcast every week I talk to people who can inspire and add to your experience of stand-up paddleboarding. What you'll find in every episode is a chat with an individual who's either done something incredible in SUP or who can offer you some learning, information and help which can add something to your time on the water. As you may well have guessed already, this episode is brought to you through the support of our friends over at Starboard. Starboard is the leading innovator in SUP and has a huge history in board design. And I talked to Sven Rasmussen, the creator of the brand, in episode 71. He started in the windsurfing market in 1994 and innovated with his designs, which led to the brand becoming market leader in only 10 years. The brand got behind stand-up paddling early and has solidly supported the sport ever since. Starboard continue to innovate on the environmental front as they improve and they push the boundaries of design and functionality, which makes them suitable for the weekend warrior like me, as well as for the elite level competitors, like one of our previous guests, Fiona Wilde, who seems to be winning all over the place at the moment. And you can find out more about Starboard through their website, which is linked to in the show notes. You can catch up with the SUP FM podcast in plenty of places, including Instagram and Facebook. But if you wanted to keep it old school, you could sign up to our SUP FM email newsletter, which goes out with a whole lot of value-added updates about future episodes, SUP news, starter packs, and added extras. And if you do sign up, then as a thank you, you'll also get our free guide to our favourite apps that we use on the water and which helps us to plan our sessions. And you can subscribe by heading over to our website at supfmpodcast.com. This week, I'm very proud to feature another extreme SUP athlete and one who, in my view, should be far more well known than he is. But would you ever choose to paddle the 200 odd kilometres of the classic 11 cities race non-stop? Clearly, it takes a special kind of person to take part in the first place. But what sort of person does it take to come back year after year and to win it repeatedly? Niek Van Der Linde, the guest on today's episode, simultaneously this year also broke the record for distance travelled on a SUP over 24 hours, which is a record which is generally attacked on boards much longer and with much more glide than the standard 14-foot race board he was on. In this episode, we chat about the history of the 11 cities, his preparation and training and nutrition, and if you do fancy taking on this massive challenge, or indeed any distance challenge, he gives some great tips and advice, as well as some tourist advice if you just wanted to paddle the Netherlands at a slightly more relaxed pace. So here is this year's remarkable winner of the non-stop 11 cities race and the current 24-hour SUP distance record holder, Niek Van Der Linde. Hey Niek, welcome to SUP FM.
Thank you for asking me. It's an honor.
Well, the honour is all ours, Niek, as a multiple winner of the non-stop 11 cities. That is a gritty old race to win once, let alone repeatedly. I think 2 weeks have passed since you crossed the finishing line.
Mm-hmm.
Have you recovered?
When I sit on a chair, I think I recovered. But once I do something, I have to put some boards on my car or something. Then I still feel the shoulders, and I went running a little run this evening, and then you feel you're still kind of tired. You can do everything right now, but yeah, to really do a competition or something, no, that's not going to work. So on average, yeah, I'm still a little tired.
Well, not surprising at all. So let's just go back a little bit in time. So how did you start supping, and what was your background in water sports?
Yeah, when I was 15 years old, which is a long time ago now, for my birthday I got a present. It was a windsurf board, and I started windsurfing and I really liked it and got addicted to it and just wanted to windsurf as much as possible and did so. Yeah, and when I do something, I really go 100% for it. So I was doing competitions, first in racing, and then freestyle windsurfing came, and I started to do freestyle windsurfing and won some competitions, the Dutch nationals and everything. And I traveled a lot around the world just to train in the winter. And yeah, that's something like when I was 35 or something. Yeah, okay, windsurfing. I did it a lot, but I was actually looking for something else without realizing I was looking for something else. And then I saw these pictures from some windsurf friends, and it was actually from the 11 City Tour. And a guy I knew from windsurfing did the non-stop, and I saw these pictures from just a guy, a board, a paddle, and 200 Ks of water in front of him, and just do it, go for it. Wind in the back, wind across, sun, rain, doesn't matter. Just go for it. And actually, that's the reason I started paddling. So I had my sponsored Fanatic for windsurfing, and they also had Starboard. So I asked, have this September, can I have a board? But something came in between, and I wasn't getting a board, and I lost interest again. And the year later, I saw the same kind of pictures, and then I said, okay, I really want this. And I started paddling on a windsurf board, just a beginner board, a couple of weeks, and then I could organize the sub. The first time I went on it, I still remember I just fell off immediately. It was a race up, of course. And actually the day after, I was doing the nationals in Holland, and I think I got 14th or something. Not really spectacular. I did some training just on the windsurf board, but yeah, actually from the moment I was on the subboard, I got hooked, and I really like, just the simplicity of things. A board, a paddle, and well, that's the course. A couple of buoys sometimes, or in this case, just the beautiful landscape of Friesland, 200K, 11 cities. Yeah, that's really what I like, actually.
Yeah, and it's a simple sport in concept. So I know there's a lot of complexity within the windsurfing, which has been both a blessing and a curse. And you run a SUP school, don't you, and a windsurf school. Whereabouts do you run that?
Yeah, I do. It's in the northwest of Holland. Most people know Amsterdam. It's about 50K above Amsterdam. It's close to the North Sea. So it's kind of the windy part in Holland. So for windsurfing, it's ideal. It's a small lake, not that big. I think it's 4 by 4 square kilometers. And of course, we have all these canals just around the corner where I live, or I can sup on the lake. I can go in the chop on the lake if I want. I can choose for flat water. I can go on the North Sea in some waves if I want. So everything is pretty close here. And yeah, that's where we located. I teach SUP in Alle. That's where I live. And at the Amstelmeer. That's where I have the windsurf school and also teach SUP.
You've already answered one of my questions, which is, do you get any surf opportunities up there?
Kind of surf. It's North Sea, of course. So it's not Hawaii or France or whatever. But yeah, the last couple of days we got some, what we call swell, 1 meter. And it was kind of no wind. So it was really nice. So we do have some surf. I did some surfing in the past. The last years I was also doing stand-up surfing, SUP surfing. Actually, the last year I was more always when the waves are not that good. So most of the time I just took my ocean SUP raceboard and just do in and outs and surf on my big board. And well, last year I got into foiling. So that's a new chapter. We have SUP foil, wing foiling. So we do have some waves, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's probably the same quality of waves that we get on the south coast of England here, which is, about 1 meter, and we get excited about that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so a large number of our listeners will be familiar with the 11 Cities SUP race, which obviously, as you said, is the prime mover for bringing you into the sport in the first place.
Yeah.
And and it's become one of those classic events, despite the fact that obviously the sport's quite new, and the SUP side of it, I think's been going since 2009.
Mm-hmm.
But the route itself has been raced a lot longer than 2009. It is a classic race route. So could you just tell us a little bit about the background to the 11 cities, and then maybe about the variations of different SUP races that are run on that?
Yeah, the 11 cities, it started actually with ice skating long time ago, long time before I was born. And well, it takes a lot of, you have to be lucky in the winter to have ice on all those lakes and all those canals. So it's not every year. Actually, I think the last time it was on ice skate, it was, I think, 96 and 97. I still remember that when it happens, although now it's really long time ago. I think it has to do something with Mother Earth and it's getting too warm. But I still remember I was on school and we all went to see the 11th city on TV. And normally you never watch TV on school, but when this happens, the whole country just stands still and watches. And if it happens, it's really big. And the people who have won it, everybody knows them. And I don't know how many times it happened, but I can remember. And I think they were 96 and 97. So that's a really big thing. I think if it will happen now next winter with all the commercial things, it will be really crazy, really commercial. But yeah, it's a really tough race. There's also the race of, I think it's 96, and it was freezing and hail and storm, and they made movies about it. So if you can do it skating, then you're a real winner. So it has a big history. And yeah, then they started to do all kinds of 11 city races. They do it on bikes, they do it running, they do it roller skating, they do it with cars. And I think it's 12 years ago right now. Anna-Marie was also a windsurfer. She knew her from school. But at that time, I wasn't into SUP at all. So we were in the same school and she started to SUP. She was doing a lot of windsurfing, saw the SUP on Maui, brought it to Holland, really liked it, and just asked some friends and tried if it was possible to do it on a SUP. So that's actually how the first 11 city race started, and there were some invitations with the famous paddlers. I think Bart de Zwart was one of the first ones, and yeah, they just did it with a group of friends, a big group, and they found out it was possible, and from there it went bigger and bigger, and a few years later they got into the non-stop, and now you have everything. You can do it for one day, you can do it for the weekend, you can do it for 5 days, you can do it in a team, you can do the non-stop on your own, you can do the non-stop in a team. So actually for every paddler there's something. I think the shortest distance is day 5, it's 27k. So if you go for it 1 year, you should be able to do that. And most people like it, and the next year they sign up for 2 days or 5 days or whatever. So that's actually the history of the 11th city.
It has turned into one of those classic SUP events, hasn't it? Because in the past there were some classic races, classic events, Battle of the Paddle and so on. But this one is one that looks like it's been around for so many years, and just seems to be going from strength to strength, really, and the fields continue to build, although the non-stop does have a limited field, doesn't it? I don't think that will ever be the most
no.
choice. So you mentioned about the two different events, so just explain to us, obviously the non-stop we can kind of get our heads around, and by the way, we're talking about 220 kilometers here, which is 137 miles, just under 137 miles. So it's not an inconsiderable distance, but there's the non-stop, and then there's also the stage race, which people kind of compare to the SUP equivalent of the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Have you entered the stage race, or has it always been non-stop for you?
Once I did one stage. It's actually also a funny story. So I have my windsurf school, I have my SUP school, and it is always in summer, late summer. So, well, I have to pay the bills. So I'm working hard in summer. That's the time when I have to make some money. So actually, I never was able to take off 5 days and to race. And one time I think it was a Thursday. So I did one stage, which is around 45K. Yeah, really liked it. And the year after, I had some issues with my knee. So I couldn't do any sub. And then the year after that, I really wanted to do something with the 11 City again. But I wasn't able to do 5 days because I had to work. And at that time, the non-stop was on Monday and Tuesday. And the 5 days started on Wednesday. So Monday and Tuesday are not really with me teaching. So I thought, well, let's do it on Monday, Tuesday. And then Wednesday I can start teaching again. So I won't lose too much. So that's why I did. Actually, it was just one of the reasons was that it took me less time. It only took me 2 days. I didn't realize it took a few more days or weeks to recover, but...
So did you win it in your first year? Because you've won it 4 years, haven't you?
Yeah. The first year is still... Yeah, if I think about it, it's crazy that I won it. We started, first of all, it was the one where we did a little different course. We started, it was force 8, force 9 wind was expected with thunderstorms and hail and rain. So we did the course a little different. We started halfway and then did the circle. Normally we start in Leeuwarden. This time we started in Workum. That way we shouldn't have the biggest wind in our face. Halfway, the whole race got cancelled due to thunderstorm and lightning and everything. We couldn't do one lake. So actually, I think we did that time 180K. But I was standing there at the starting line, and the fastest paddlers always are the last one to start. So our race organizer Hans asked me, Niek, when do you want to start? And I said, yeah, of course, with the fastest guys. And he said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I think so. That's what I want to do. They are my heroes, like Bart de Zwart and Florent Dode and Olivier. They were winning all these massive things, great athletes. So I really wanted to see how they were doing. So there I was standing on the start line, and we started, and they just paddled away, and I was struggling, and I was going 8K an hour, and I was thinking, what's going wrong? It's so heavy. And then after 5K, I found out that my light fell off my board, and it was hanging on a rope like a kind of anchor. So I lost there something like 10 or 15 minutes, whatever. And at that moment, Hans saw me and he thought, oh no, Niek, he wanted to start with the fast guys, but we're not even 10K from the start and he's already 10 minutes behind. What's going to happen? So I found out, and I picked up the lights, and from there on, for sure, I really had to do my own race because everybody was out of sight. And actually, that was a good thing, because if you start looking at other people, if you try to stay ahead of them or try to follow them, it's not going to work. It's not a race with other people. It's just a race against or with yourself. So I just started pedaling, and somewhere halfway, suddenly I saw a light in the dark, and I got closer. Whoa, that's Bart de Zwart, and he was third, and I couldn't believe that I was able to catch up with him, and I thought, wow, I'm third. And so we paddled further, and then the race got cancelled for 2 hours, and I found out that the Frenchmen Olivier and Florent were just a couple of minutes in front of me, and then we went off again, and I was able to overtake them, and I think 40K in front of the finish line, I was in the leading position. I took over the leading position, and at that time I was only thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna paddle like crazy. If I finish the line first, I never ever have to do this again. If I can accomplish this, man, it's like a dream. So I really paddled like crazy, and I finished something like 10 minutes ahead of Olivier. And yeah, I won. So that was a surprise for everybody, for myself, for Fnatic, my sponsor, for my dad who was supporting me and giving me all my drinks and food. And everybody couldn't believe it. I heard from men who were crying when they saw it, when they heard it. It was the year before was really tough mentally and physically for me, and winning that race was just amazing.
Just to talk a little bit about preparation, because obviously your approach must have been refined over the years and you must have changed bits and pieces in your preparation. But I don't know whether you know this one, putting you on the spot a bit, but do you know how many calories you burn during the course of the race?
No, I don't know how many calories I burn. I should check my Strava or my Garmin, and I always use a heart rate monitor, but not with this race. So I'm actually not sure, but I do know how many calories or carbs actually, which is the most important, carbohydrates, how many you can take in an hour during exercise. And I've read a lot. I listen a lot of podcasts. I'm really into training. I train a lot with a guy who's also really also crazy about SUP and all the theories and training and everything. So we're always talking about these theories and trying them out and trying to know everything about training and rest and food. So yeah, there's a lot to learn, and there are a lot of things that can go wrong and a lot of things that can go right, and a lot of things you have to think about. And there are people like, for example, I think 2 years ago, Emma, she's a Fnatic teammate, and she also is very busy in summer with working at the surf school and everything. So I think she decided to do the non-stop 1 week ahead. So she's actually the opposite. She trained. She's really good at sea. So she did her miles, but I know every corner. I know every detail. I know exactly at which stop I have to drink so much and eat so much to get to the next stop, and everything is ready to go. And she's actually the opposite, and she also made it, and she also won with the ladies. Yeah, I like to work hard for it and know everything up front, so I don't get surprised.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. So just in terms of the race, so the non-stop, there's no drafting.
Yeah,
is that right? That's the main rule. Am I right in saying that I should know this? In the stage race, you can draft, or is it?
Yeah, you can draft there within your own group. So you start in groups. You can subscribe for, I think it's the open men are the fastest guys. But you also can subscribe for the masters or the super masters or the ladies or the divas, and you can draft within your own group.
We mentioned about nutrition and how important that is. What sort of things do you take with you? Because 24 hours of gels doesn't sound like a huge amount of fun.
No.
How do you structure your nutrition?
Well, you can take up to 60 gram of carbohydrates an hour. And if you have the right stuff and if you trained that well, that's also trained, you can go up to 90 grams per hour carbohydrates. So I know how long it is till the next stop. I know almost my average pace. So then I know how long it takes, and then I know how many scoops I need. So I also know how much water I want. I want 0.7 liters. If you're sporting, it's something between 0.6 and 1 liter an hour. So I chose for 0.7 liters an hour. So if you know these things, how many carbs you need and how many water you need, well, you just have to put it in your bag and make sure you finish it until the next stop. And it is simple. It sounds simple. I tell this to everybody, but I've spoken to so many people and they said, yeah, Niek, you told me I should drink and get everything in. But yeah, actually every time I was at the stop, it was just half finished. Yeah. And then later I had to give up. Yeah. So it is really hard, and it sounds simple, but it's also something you have to train in advance. I took a lot of sports nutrition, and like you said, taking gels and the sport nutrition, it's not something you like after 12 hours or 24. So you have to get used to it. But on the other, it's the best way to do it. You can drink other things which you like. Of course, I'm hungry. Of course, I want a pizza or the pasta, but it's not going to work. It just stays in my stomach and gives me stomach problems. So yeah, I know what I need. I did my research, and yeah, that's what I take for every single stop. I get a Camelback filled with the right amount of water and the right amount of scoops.
Brilliant. So the majority of carbs you get through sports drinks, then?
Yeah, yeah. And every stop, so there are 9 stops. Every stop, 1 banana and 1. Yeah, it's just a cheap granola bar. It's nothing. It's just something to have in your mouth. It's just something to get rid of the taste of the drink and to do something. And so actually, every stop, I think it was 1 banana and 1 or 2 granola bars. And yeah, you can. I took the banana straight. I ate it straight at the stop. And then I put the granola bar just in my boards. And then after 10K, I could eat one. And after 20K, I could eat one. It's something you can go for. It's a goal. And I always try to put it the whole 200K in small steps, in small portions. And this also works for me to know you can get something, food again.
Absolutely. And it's such an important, I've done some, quite a bit of distance running and cycling as well. And the nutrition piece is so important. Because if you just time it, then you're just a horrible sweating mass on the side of the road or the side of the canal, I guess. So no, that's really fascinating. And in terms of your physical preparation, so I'm talking more about like protecting your hands and so on. What do you do there? Do you wear gloves? Do you have about half a ton of tape on there, or are your hands just absolutely solid from the training?
Yeah, that's it. No, nothing on the hands. I think I had 2 blisters. When I look at my hands right now, they're gone already. Yeah, I've been windsurfing for, I don't know, since I was 15. I'm 43 now, so a couple of years. And not just 1 time a week. It was 4 times a week. And the same with stand-up paddling right now. So yeah, you really get used to it. And I think tape, I tried it the first time. I did 70K training, and I taped my hands, and my hands were more sore from the tape than from blisters or whatever. So yeah, the best thing for sure is to just pedaling down, making your miles, and get used to it. Easier said than you're not getting that in 1 year. Some people decide they want to do the nonstop or the 5 days, and they start training 6 months before. So yeah, just this world record, it's from, I think, 10 years of training. Every year you get a little bit stronger, and the whole body, but also the hands.
Absolutely. And as an instructor myself, when I talk to people and they're frustrated about not getting balance, say, on the sea, I just remind them it is all about time on the board. And I was speaking to Chris Burtish a few weeks ago about his experience and also about his Mavericks experience, his big wave stuff. And it's simply about just spending time out there in lots of different conditions. And, your body just gets used to it. And you can't expect to be a world beater without putting in those hours.
Sometimes I give these clinics to people who want to do some ultras, again, like the 5 days or the nonstop. And they all want to know the shortcut. And well, there is no shortcut. It's just putting the miles in, doing all the hard work. And it is very important. If you want to do something like this, of course, you really have to like it. And then you can go for it. But you cannot start today by training 6 days a week. After 2 months, you will be ill and you can start all over again. So that also took me some time. 4 years ago, I was maybe able to do sub every other day, and now I'm able to train 6 days a week. And so you really really slowly have to, gradually have to train more, and you cannot do everything from right now.
And I guess speaking personally, you get older, the rest and the recovery becomes even more part of the equation, doesn't it? I know that with your training, you did some long runs as part of your lead up to the 11 cities, and then you tapered off just to give your body a chance to recover. Just tell us a bit about your training plan, particularly the distances you did.
Yeah, it's true. It takes time to recover, and you really have to listen to your body, and then you can do what's possible. So if you make a plan 6 days a week, well, every 2 weeks you have to think, is it still going okay, or should I do less? Usually you have to do less than you wanted. So what I actually did, I started around this period. Actually, last year I got the feeling I knew I could do better. And that's actually the biggest motivation for me to get on the sub and to train. It's the goal is to make my body stronger. And the best way to see if I got stronger is to do the 11 non-stop. So it's the biggest challenge there is. So I had some thoughts about things I could do better. So I started to do a little more weight training. I started to do a little more running, but a little faster. I used to do quite a lot of distance, but slow. But I started to do that a little faster. I found out that my pace was okay, like 8 k's an hour. I could do that for 24 or 36 hours. But when we got headwind, that really killed me. And after that, I was not able to go as fast as I wanted. So I wanted to get stronger. So that was a goal. So I did some more intense intervals. But it's in the summer, it's hard to combine with my work because I'm teaching all day. I'm standing on the water 7 days a week, and then you want to train before or after. So that's really hard. You also have to rest. Without rest, you cannot train. So on one hand, it's really good. I'm standing all day on my board, and a lot of people doing these kind of stuff like the non-stop, they get problems with the legs. I'm kind of used to that because of my work, but I'm not gonna do an intense interval at 8 o'clock in the evening after standing on my board from 9 till 7 p.m. then you're really tired. So we all have our lives. We're not professionals, so the goal is to do whatever you can, but still be able to have a social life, and we have to work and everything. So
life comes first. And just before we get into the specifics of this year's race, you mentioned that you're part of the Fnatic team. Just tell us a bit about the board that you use.
Yeah, we have the Fnatic Strike, 14 foot. I use the 20-inch wide version, which is actually the smallest, and all the teammates use this. And Joep got first in the open man 5 days, and Kjell got second. So we have a really strong team, and that's just nice about Team Fnatic, that we always are challenging ourselves. And the distributor from Fnatic, Herman, is really doing a lot for the sports and for the team, and he was there 5 days, and even when I was at the non-stop, he was there standing and cheering at night. So that's one thing. We have a great team. And about the boards, I was just standing on a production 14 foot. The only thing is, during the 11 city, I also beat the world 24-hour world record. And the 24-hour world record, you can choose whatever board you want. And they always chose a longer board, something like 18 feet, which has a lot of benefits. It's faster. There used to be races on 12.6. There used to be races on 40 foot. So finally, nowadays, all world championships, Dutch championships in the UK as well, I think, they're all on 14 foot. So finally, I was happy that I can do all my races on the 40 foot, but I wanted to challenge the 24-hour world record. But that was still on an unlimited. I took the biggest goal was to beat those guys on the unlimited boards. and I did. So
which is absolutely incredible. And obviously, for those who aren't schooled with the subtleties of stand-up paddleboarding, with a longer board you get better glide. So immediately with those unlimited size boards, they've got an advantage. Well, look, I was going to go through the race, and I still will, but let's just have a talk about that world record, because you came in 220 kilometers, well within that 24 hours. I think it's 23 hours, 39 minutes, I think, that you did that in, which is quite amazing. At what point did you realize that you had beaten the 24-hour record, or were you aware?
Well, yeah, it is a little different. The 11 City used to be 204K, and I don't know where they got the 220 from, but it's still on the logo. I think that's
over the place.
Yeah, sorry about it. It's still on the logo. It's everywhere, but if you measure it, it's just last year it was 204K. Which is still a lot. I think the 220 is from the ice skating version, and I think in the first time they didn't measure it right, and they now don't want to change it or something. I'm not sure, but whatever. Last year it was 204K, and the world record was 202.7. So I thought, okay, if I can finish this race within 24 hours, 204K, I got the world record. But then this year they changed the route a little bit. It got 2K shorter. So eventually the new route was, I think, something like 201.8. So I was 1 kilometer short of the world record. And so I was chatting with the 11 sub organizers how we could fix this, because I made this goal, trained really hard. I trained this year more than ever, far more than ever. Also, I have to say the weather looked good. If you, like last year, we had force 5. And it's nice to have force 5 in your bag, but it's a circle. So if you have it in your bag a little later, you have headwind. So that's not going to work. So the weather was good. I trained a lot, and I had this goal. Actually, only my girlfriend and my family knew about it. I didn't told anybody else because I don't want too much pressure. But I had to. So I was chatting with the organizer, and then I was asking him, how can we do that? So there are a few opportunities. After the finish of the 11th City, I could go paddle further if I thought it was still in reach of the world record. But that's not a lot of fun. A lot of people are standing there at the finish line. My daughter is there. My girlfriend is there. There are fireworks, and I keep paddling. So we thought it was the best thing to start 2K in front of the starting line. And I started actually 14 minutes earlier than the start of the 11th City. So I could do that 2K in 8.5. Case average, and I still could start at the 11th City at the right time. So I had to do some calculations, but it worked out. I think I was 6 seconds late at the start of the 11th City, which is nothing. So then a little 23 and a half hour later, I was at the finish line of the 11th City. And I broke that course record, which was my own. And I still had 15 minutes for the world record. But, I had this goal. I just wanted to beat those guys on a 14-foot. I achieved it. My family was there. Everybody was there. There was music. There was fireworks. I was at the finish line. So I finished, and I went to celebrate. And I still had, I think, 15 minutes, a little less or a little more. I even don't know. Actually, I don't care. I broke the record and finished.
And it sets things up really nicely for next year, doesn't it? Because there's another 15 minutes on. Incredible. But I totally understand what you say, because obviously you had that additional time in there. But, I do see what you say, because I don't know whether you've seen the film Forrest Gump, but you don't want to be heading off round for another lap, do you?
No.
Miss all the fireworks.
Yeah.
But that was incredible. So, just again, another staggering achievement there on a 14-foot board. Amazing. Plus, the navigation and so on, the manoeuvring. Okay, so let's just bring you back to the start line. So you mentioned that the non-stop event is is staggered. So how did you feel just before you set off, albeit, a little way, I guess, distance, a little way away from where everyone else was starting? Because you've done this on numerous occasions now. You know how painful it is. What's going through your mind before you head off? Or is it just totally game face on and focus on the race?
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah, I'm really concentrated. I'm nervous. I don't think the last few days I'm the nicest person on earth. Just really within myself. I'm an introvert person, so even then it's even more. I know what to do. I know exactly what to do, and I'm just gonna execute it. My plan, and I'm just gonna do it.
You're paddling. Obviously, you're starting earlier than everyone else. You come to where everyone else starts. And you talked a bit about it. It is really important just to pace yourself rather than to react to everyone else. But it must feel a bit odd if people are ahead of you, although actually you're going to have all of those slower paddlers ahead of you anyway who you've got to overhaul. So I guess that there's no anxiety about that. You just need to concentrate on doing your own thing, really, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And actually this year, on paper, I was by far the fastest one. Of course, you still have to do it. But there were people who were already saying, hey, Niek, congratulations, when I still had to start, which is a little bit strange. But even then, the first 150K, maybe even the first 170K, you really have to slow down because you really want to go. You know how fast you want, you know how fast you can go. But the last 30K you have against you, the water is really low, so it's not very deep, so you're slow. So actually the last 30K, of course, you already have done 170K, but then the last 30K is even tougher. So I knew already I have to keep a lot of energy for that last part, and that's what I did the whole race. Other years it was a little different, like the one I got second. Then Olivier, he went away, and I think he did the first 50K in 9 kilometers average an hour, which is really fast. And I saw him going, and I thought, okay, do your own race. But still, well, the year before I won, so you don't want to get second or whatever. So you're still looking at him, and I knew how far he was in front, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then he was 15 minutes in front of me. And then actually I decided, okay, or he's going to do a really good job and he's going to be by far the best paddler. Well, I'm probably not. Or he's going to die somewhere and I'm going to see him again. So that's the point where I really started to do my own race. And then after 100K, I was supping next to him again. And we were supping the last 100K together. And eventually he won. But every time I'm one of the slower starters. And every time at the end, well, almost every time, I'm at the end the first one on the finish line. So yeah, you really have to slow down in the beginning. It's not about who's first halfway or whatever. It's only about the finish. And if you look, for example, at the marathon, the guys who are winning, they have negative split. So the second part is faster than the first part. And that's the goal, actually. There are a lot of benefits when you start slow. It's better for your carbs, for everything. And if you start fast, well, then at the end you have to see what's possible. If you start a little slower, you can see what you have in the end. And like this year, in the end, it was getting tough. I was tired. It was heavy, but I still could pedal my same pace like 8.6, 8.7 an hour. And if I see pictures of myself after 150K, I still pedal good. If I see the videos, I'm still fresh. And if I see pictures from the last couple of kilometers, well, that's where I really went for it, the last 30K. So start slow is so important.
Tell me a bit about some of the experiences, because I know people ask you quite a lot about paddling at night. And I understand while some people might struggle with that, you quite enjoy it. You kind of get into a bit of a seeming Zen state. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. It's getting really quiet. Usually the wind dies. You see no one else, and you're just there with your board, and it's so quiet. You hear nothing except your strokes. And I really get into a rhythm and just keep going. And yeah, I really I never have problems with the night. Actually, this year a little bit when the evening came, and then we got headwinds. The first part was pretty fast, and we had some tailwind, but then the second part came, it got evening, and we had headwind, and the water was not as deep anymore. So then you slow down, and then I thought, oh man, how am I going to do this? I'm not going to be able to get this world record. What am I doing here? So, and then you see all the people standing there and cheering for you. And then I said, okay, let's go for it. I cannot quit. And then standing there in the bridge, and when I'm not there, it's a little bit strange. So I kept going, and during the night, I really got in my rhythm. And yeah, I like it. Of course, I have my sports nutrition with caffeine. I think that helps as well. But yeah, I sleep a lot normally. The goal is 9 hours a day, a night. But when I'm paddling, you also have to be really focused, because if you're not focused on where you're going, you paddle into trash or weed, or you don't go well around the corner. So yeah, you have to stay focused. I think that helps. You have to.
So I understand that you got attacked by some birds on the way through.
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah. Last year was really crazy in the middle of the night, and then you're up north. And up north, there are some people living there, but not much. It's so quiet there. So there are no houses. And I was paddling there on a canal in between the weeds. And suddenly you hear this noise, and you have no idea what it is, and it's so much noise, and finally you find out that there are birds. So you don't see much, you don't have a light, and yeah, finally it must have been millions of birds. And later, when I finished one of the boats, they made a little movie, a little clip, and they filmed it, and they had a spotlight, and you saw them flying. It was crazy. I was scared. But not this year. They weren't there. I was expecting them, but not this year. No.
Well, maybe they've gone to watch something else.
Yeah, I guess. I hope so.
Obviously, you must have felt, I guess, a combination of being completely exhausted, but also quite exhilarated when past the finish line. Just tell us about your feelings when you realize what you'd done.
Unbelievable. It's like you said, so much pain, but so happy. And I had this goal, and I talked with my girlfriend about it, and she said, go for it. And we were planning my training, and she did we have to do more things. I have my daughter. We have to go to the groceries, do the groceries. We have to cook everything. She did a lot. And even in summer, she did even more. Because when I was not training, I was working. Because it's the busy season. What was the question again?
How did it feel?
Oh yeah, so I did a lot. And then when you achieve that, it's even more beautiful when you know that you did a lot for it. If you get something for free, it's not fun at all. But if you know you did so much for that, it's totally worth it. And still unbelievable that I beat this world record time on a 40 foot. And we have had some headwinds. We have current. We have a lot of corners. Everything. So it's not even perfect. So that it's just unbelievable. Still, I don't know. I'm not sure. For me.
Do you know what? I mentioned I've done some sort of distance events in the past, and I think the thing that really benefited me when I finished something, as I always said, never again, absolutely not a chance. Then, because I've got such a shocking memory, my body just forgets how much pain it was.
It is, yeah.
And I think, I really fancy doing that again.
Yeah, you forget about the bad things and the pain, and you only remember the good things. And then you see the pictures of standing at the finish line. There's this one picture. I use it a lot on my website and everything. And there, I was just finishing, and I have one fist in the air, and my eyes are together, and you cannot see, is it pain? Is he happy? Is he crying? Well, I have to tell, it was all at the same time. So that really tells the whole story.
Wow, that was quite some achievement, Nick. So before we wind up, I just wanted you to fill in your part-time role as representative of the Dutch Tourist Board and just talk about paddling in Holland, because obviously there are all sorts of opportunities there for people who are coming from elsewhere in Europe. Just tell us about some of the highlights and the locations. So if anyone doesn't fancy doing the 200 circle that you've made your landmark, where are the places that people can come and paddle in Holland that you'd recommend?
Yeah, there's so much water, and the nice thing is about we have so many canals, and if it's a little bit windy or whatever, you still can paddle. So that's really nice. For example, Friesland, that's the part of Holland where the 11th city is. Yeah, it looks like it's made for SUP. So many canals, almost every city or village you can reach by the water. And there the water sport is really big. So in Friesland there are a lot of sub schools, and they also rent, of course, and you have a lot of routes. For example, I live in Alkmaar. Alkmaar has a really nice city center. It's really old, and you can also paddle through the canals. And you can do a small route, a big route. We have in the east of Holland, we have beautiful parts there. Yeah, there are so many nice places, and we have big waters like the IJsselmeer, the North Sea, and the southwest of Holland. There are big waters, but usually you don't go there for to go on the SUP because it's choppy, it's windy. But there are all these canals, and they make it nice. I have a few on my website. It's all in Dutch, but maybe if you really want it, if somebody wants it, they can translate it. And I have there some really nice routes from, I think the smallest one is 4K or 3K up till 50 or 60K. So there are endless possibilities.
And I'm doing a bit of an unofficial guide to Europe and comparing it to the UK, which is obviously where I paddle. So if someone wanted to, say, do the 11 cities route independently, is that possible? And are there any restrictions? And do you need to pay for a license on the waterways of the Netherlands?
No, you don't have to pay any. I'm just thinking, didn't prepare this. Yeah, there's one canal, and there you can have big boats, and I'm not sure if it's allowed if you do it on your own. I think it's allowed. I think, but I'm not 100% sure. But most of the routes you just can do, and there are campings and everything, and you can decide to take your tent with you, or maybe you have a car that picks you up or whatever. So yeah, that's all possible, and the route is actually on the 11 City Tour website, so you can just see the route. And if you see a lake, you also can paddle just a little different, and you won't pass the lake. You just go over the small canal. So you can also do alternatives. There's a lot of possibilities.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for the travel advice there. It seems to be only the UK have to pay for going on waterways, but this is what it seems at the moment. But I will continue my investigation, so I'll let you know on that one. Yeah. Nick, fantastic. So good to speak to you. Congratulations once again on such an incredible pair of achievements, actually, the World 24-hour and your success again for the fourth year on the 11 cities non-stop. We really look forward to following you next year. I'm not trying to force you to do it or anything, but If you did do it, we'll be following very closely. So, wishing you all the best. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for chatting on SUP FM.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I really like it. And keep spreading SUP around the world. Thank you for that.
Thank you for listening to SUP FM, the #1 podcast for stand-up paddlers wherever you are. If you like what you've heard, please leave us a review on iTunes. Until then, we'll see you on the water.